Hi, I'm Jake Paniton, Customer Care Coordinator at StructureWorks, and I'm going to show you how to install a pergola column on a deck using our TensionRod mounting system with deck mount adapter. The tools you'll need for this installation are a pencil, a torpedo level, a 4-foot level, a measuring tape, a socket wrench with 9/16 inch socket and 3/4 inch deep socket, a 9/16 inch open end wrench, an impact driver with Phillips and square drive bits, a drill, a 5/8 inch by 8 inch wood drill bit, a 3/16 inch metal drill bit, a 5/8 inch by 12 inch metal drill bit, a circular saw with an abrasive blade, some painter's tape, and finally an 8-foot high step ladder. We recommend using 2. To get started, you'll need 2 pieces of blocking to install under the deck, a couple pieces of pressure treated 2x8 cut to fit between the joists of the deck will work just fine. These blocks will be attached under the decking and secured with wood screws through the joists on each side. Now that the blocking is secured, a 5/8 inch hole needs to be drilled from the top of the deck through the decking and blocking to allow the 1/2 inch threaded rod to pass through. Next, an aluminum plate needs to be secured on the underside of the blocking with a nut and washer. When installing the plate, if you're working by yourself, place a washer and nut on the top of the threaded rod. That will keep it from falling through the hole. After the threaded rod is added, place a piece of 2x8 bracing on the bottom of the joist. This will give additional support to keep the joist from rolling as lateral loads are placed on the columns. Once you're done under the deck, you're ready to move to the top of the deck and finish the deck mount column installation. The next step is to add the aluminum base plate. If you used a nut and washer to keep the threaded rod from falling through the deck, be sure to remove them now. The purpose of this plate is to act as a base for the column leveling studs, so they won't dig into the decking and work loose over time. Now, install the leveling studs and nuts into the 4 holes on the column leveling plate. Use 1 nut on the top side of the plate and 1 on the bottom side of the plate for each stud. Then, place the column leveling plate on top of the base plate. Using the 4 leveling studs and a torpedo level, make sure the plate is level as it will ensure that the column is plumb when installed. It's easiest to make initial adjustments by lifting the plate and turning the leveling studs by hand. However, when making final adjustments, an open end wrench works best. Once the plate is level, tighten the top and bottom leveling stud nuts to ensure each stud is secured. Then add a nut and washer to the threaded rod and tighten with a wrench to secure the plate. The column leveling plate has 4 small holes to allow for installation of wood screws to further prevent column leveling plate movement. Use these holes as a guide to drill through the base plate. Adding these screws will ensure that the mounting plates are tightened to the blocking and decking as much as possible. Lastly, add a 1/2 inch hex nut and then the coupler by threading it halfway onto the threaded rod. It will be used to connect the long threaded rod once we have the column set in place. Tighten the hex nut and coupler so that the coupler won't turn when installing the long threaded rod. Now you're ready to set the column, but before you do, remember 2 things. First, you need to square the bottom of the column before setting it onto the column leveling plate. Apply painter's tape to the column for marking as well as to protect the surface of the column from being scratched. Also, be sure to add the base trim to the bottom of the column before setting it in place. Once the column is set into the leveling plate, add the long threaded rod from the top of the column and connect it to the coupler. Make sure the long threaded rod is fully tightened into the coupler. Before setting the beam, the column, capital, and mid-trim, if provided, should be positioned on the column shaft. The Trex Pergola beam must be drilled with a 5/8" drill bit to receive the 1/2" threaded rod needed to attach the beam to the column assembly. The top of the beam should be marked 2 feet in from the end of the beam and 1 3/4 inches from the front and back sides of the beam. If the beam cantilever has been adjusted, the measurement from the beam end will need to be adjusted as well. It is critical that the hole is drilled straight and accurately to ensure the threaded rod will pass through the bottom hole and align with the top hole. Once the beam has been set into place, you can add the storm load washer, flat washer, and hex nuts. Be sure to tighten the hex nuts according to the instructions received with your pergola kit. I hope this helps speed your pergola installation. And remember, if you have any questions about the installation process, please contact us at structureworksfab.com.